Citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review, specifically the final SummerSlam related review for the month of July. Of course, we did ours a little bit earlier this year because we got a lot of stuff happening next month, and so I figured I would do these early this year, like I mentioned a few weeks ago, and so this is our final SummerSlam match review for the month of July. One last ride, and I figured I'd end it off, first of all, by going back to the WWF, but also looking at a very interesting match revolving around a very interesting feud. Now, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart had been feuding for a while. Well, one of the most infamous is one of the most recognizable feuds both on and off screen, and at this point a third party got in the mix, the Undertaker, who was the WWF champion at the time. Now we see The Undertaker getting into the fray. Hey, but what would happen when Bret Hart challenges The Undertaker for the WWE title and Shawn Michaels becomes the special guest referee? Let's find out. I'm, of course, talking about SummerSlam 1997, and as Bret Hart battles The Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as the aforementioned special guest referee. He, w- he, and Because that was the main event, obviously, naturally, the tagline for SummerSlam 1997 would end up being and soul, because at that point you pretty much have to. But as always, I'm not professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that, just a man who enjoys a good time, and I had a very good time with this match. This was a very fun, a very interesting match to take a look at. For some, this is kind of just another sign of the arrival of the Attitude Era, as you may or may not hear that very loud plane outside. So I'll give them a minute to pass by. Just a moment. Uh, Still still can kind of hear him. Okay, thank you. But for a lot of people, a match like this was kind of another indicator of a sign to come of the impending Attitude Era, that there was a real shift in WWE happening at the time. This match for some people is another indicator of it. WWE has kind of mentioned as such, but for others, just another very interesting main event SummerSlam match. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. And I will also say, hey, it is. I will also say, hey, it is kind of. I did kind of make a lot of comparisons between what they did in this match versus what they would do several years later with Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk at SummerSlam last year. There's some, and I think even people made comparisons even when that happened. And CM Punk even had like the Bret Hart inspired gear for the match. So definitely leaning into that aspect of it as well. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know this works. But if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. As for kind of how we got here, I kind of mentioned for the most part, Bret Hart challenged Undertaker to the championship here, but also, there's a couple other notable wrinkles when it comes to the story. The first is that Bret Hart has said that if he does not win the WWE Championship here, then he will no longer compete in America, or is it all of North America? It's either just the United States or it's all of North America. He would not wrestle on American soil again. So Bret Hart vowed that if he doesn't win the championship here, he would not wrestle in the United States ever again. And then Shawn Michaels wanted to be the special guest referee for reasons, but ultimately, yeah, he was made special guest referee with a caveat of his own. So if Shawn Michaels does not call the match down the middle, Bill Alfonso style, and if he favors the Undertaker over Bret Hart, who they have course, have the rivalry, that being Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, kind of like I mentioned at the beginning of this review. But if Shawn Michaels does not call the match fairly in favor of Bret, uh, then Shawn will not be able to compete in the United States for a year. Now, couple things when it comes to those stipulations. First of all, kind of bold to have two of essentially the same stipulation within the match. Pretty much both the same. Like if X doesn't happen, they won't wrestle in the United States. Although I think Sean's is all of North America, if I'm not mistaken, or his might just be the United States as well. So Oh, crazy that they kind of did ended up doing two of the same in a way, and essentially got away with it. Second is his Bret Hart seemed a little more severe. Or Sean, he just won't wrestle in the United States for a year. Bret won't wrestle if he loses. Bret won't wrestle in the United States ever again, that's crazy. The third is that if anything, that's probably both those stipulations probably a telltale sign of where things are of how the match is going to play out when it comes to that. That's almost kind of a giveaway. Although a part of me wants to see a universe where something like that had actually happened. Like, what if Brett loses and we don't see him compete in the United States for a year? That would probably be immediately undone once he goes to WCW later on in the year. But a part of me does wonder what if they actually had to go through with that stipulation. We've seen crazier stipulations followed through upon. We've seen Cody no longer be able to challenge for the AEW World Championship ever again. And I'm sure her something of interest possibly uh would have came out of it. It's like would Brett have just competed in Canada? This was around when Brett was kind of leaning into his Canadian roots and was very pro Canada at this time. At least on screen. Though Brett is also famously very pro Canada in real life because that's where he's from. But yeah, part of me does wonder what would happen if they actually went through with that stipulation. But also, I feel like a p- I do wonder why we don't really get stipulations like that again anymore nowadays. I imagine it's because there's several promotions in several other countries and everything to the point and where not competing in the United States, at least to me, doesn't feel like as big a deal anymore. Like in WWE, they do a lot more international shows. Those like they'll go to like Canada or like France or Saudi Arabia, Germany, what have you. But I feel like back then it was kind of a bigger deal. But I've yapped enough about that. Let's get to the actual match itself. So starting with what I liked. This match was a lot of fun. A lot of fun back and forth. I promise I did not plan to have two special guest referee matches back to back when it comes to these SummerSlam reviews, especially involving both members, at least both original members of D Generation X. Uh, but nevertheless, that is exactly what we got in this match. But pretty fun back and forth. I think Undertaker using a lot of his power and the agility for his time, which Undertaker, of course, famously very agile for a man his size, and then compared to Brett and his very much technical wizardry and his athleticism being able to make things look so incredibly smooth, I think made for a very beautiful blend of styles, the styles coming together. Now, when you have wrestlers with like two very kind of different or opposing styles, it can there's a possibility that it can backfire. But I think in Brett, in the case of this match, I think it really helped this match along and really helped put over the story of this match, especially with Bret and Undertaker very much going after each other, but also Shawn's involvement. Now, I will give this the edge over her John Cena versus CM Punk at SummerSlam 2011, which I reviewed yesterday. If you haven't already, go check out that match. But I will give this the edge when it comes to Shawn, a special guest referee versus Triple H. Shawn is a lot more involved here. It's not quite to the point of annoyance, but we do see him interact with Bret and Undertaker, and we see them both kind of like goad at Shawn. On a couple examples is when Undertaker has Bret like in the pin, and Bret is fighting off, and not Bret. Shawn is like shooing away the other members of the Hart Foundation to the back, that being Brian Pillman and Owen Hart, and Owen Hart just got finished is accidentally breaking Steve Austin's neck on this night, but that's for another time. But uh, but as Shawn is like kind of pushing them, or not necessarily pushing them, but saying like goes to the back and everything, and he doesn't do like the big dramatic point and like you out of here like a lot of the other refs do, but they do say this is the first match Shawn has refed in his entire life, so I imagine if he did it more often, he'd more so get used to it. But as Shawn is like telling them to go to the back, Undertaker has Bret pinned and essentially has a three, but Shawn does see it, so Undertaker kind of pulls Shawn up because then kind of roughhouses with Shawn, who very much is stating that he is the law, which it's yeah, pretty much because he's the ref for this match. But the other one, and which is kind of the finish of the match, is when Shawn notices the chair that Bret nailed Undertaker with when he actually took out Shawn on the outside. Bret picked up the chair, hit Undertaker with it. Shawn notices the chair and kind of tries to confront Bret about it. Bret spits in his face, not the last spitting Bret would do this year either. And Shawn just goes to blast Bret. And it's crazy that Shawn was pretty much willing to say F it once Bret spit in his face. All that spit was all it took for Shawn to potentially not wrestle in the United States for a year. But then Shawn just nails the Undertaker instead by accident, and Bret gets the cover for the win, and Shawn does reluctantly count the three. So it plays into that story as well. So we see the overarching story of not just the rivalry between Bret and Undertaker, but the dynamic between Bret and Shawn, and even Undertaker and Shawn, which Undertaker and Shawn would also be another prevailing rivalry throughout the rest of the year. They would have the first ever Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood later in the year. Bret and Shawn would go back to fight each other, famously at Survivor Series later on in 1997. But seeing how those stories kind of mesh together and come together in the within this match, and as I kind of mentioned, is similar to what happened with Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre, where we saw the unfolding of the rivalry not just between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, which also involved a Hell in a Cell match at a Bad Blood between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, but then also we saw the unfolding of the rivalry between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. So definitely taking inspiration from this match. Shawn unfortunately does not bust out the booty shorts this time. We'd have to wait a couple more years for that, but uh, but how to see how the story unfolds throughout the match, mixed with the action, does make for a very interesting and compelling match in that regard. And it does help further things along when it comes to that rivalry. And the commentary wasn't that annoying this time, which is great. At least compared to the few other matches that we've reviewed the past couple weeks. But as for what I didn't quite like as much about how this admittedly, Shawn kind of noticing the chair, or kind of just turning and then just noticing the chair. The way hey they kind of went about that, admittedly, was a little weird and admittedly a little on the clunky side. But also, feel like it does lean a little bit too much more to Bret versus Shawn as opposed to Bret versus Undertaker. I think having the two rivalries in the match is cool, but you kind of have to balance them out a little bit. And it's balanced for the most part, but it does lean a bit more towards Bret versus Shawn because we see that quite a bit. Now we see Undertaker getting into it with Shawn as well, and it furthers that. But I think it's more so like Bret versus Shawn, and there's kind of moments where Undertaker is just kind of there, which is unfortunate, but it's not egregious to the point where Undertaker feels like a complete afterthought, especially with him being, the WWE champion. But it is very much present in the match. But those are kind of more nitpicks on my part. Are it's still a really fun match. I definitely recommend it, and it does pretty much set up at least when it comes to all three of these men, excuse me, for better or for worse, throughout the rest of 1997. So, extra props for that. But in the meantime, that is going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below what are your thoughts on the match and my review of the match. Do you like this match? Do you like my review of the match? Let me know. Oh, also, before I forget, shout out to Bret doing not just a figure four around the ring post, but also doing a sharpshooter around the ring post, which is actually how he fell into Shawn. I don't think I've ever seen him do a sharpshooter around the ring post before. It did look a little weird, but still props to Bret, I guess. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. And as for the rest of the week, we have a couple more reviews. We're going to review a movie and a video game that's coming tomorrow. And then I have a lot of catch up to do. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we are essentially going to be playing catch up on the channel. So a lot of videos coming your way. Apologies to your inbox if you have the notifications on. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.